Hi, I'm Kevin. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to make a dehydrated lasagna meal suitable for the backcountry. I really like to have a diversity of meals when I'm camping, and I also like to have things that you don't expect to find in the backcountry. So today I'm going to show you how I make backcountry lasagna. Here's the ingredients you're going to need. You're going to want a couple cans of tomatoes. I like to use diced tomatoes. I also like to add a bottle of strained crushed tomatoes. I'm going to use a container of low-fat 1% cottage cheese. I'm going to dice up a couple of onions. I'm going to use some chopped frozen spinach that has been thawed. Of course, I'm going to use lasagna noodles. I'm going to use some Italian sausage, oregano, thyme, and a fresh bay leaf. You can make the sauce with some fresh garlic, or you can add some freeze-dried garlic at the end. This is optional. I found some freeze-dried mozzarella cheese online, and I'll add that at the end. I'm going to start by making the tomato sauce first because I want the tomato sauce to have time to stew down while I work on all the other components of this meal. This is the same tomato sauce I make for my family at home. I think it's a pretty good recipe. You can use a canned version of a tomato sauce. Not a problem at all. That'll dehydrate fine, but I really like this version. In a hot pot, I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil and my onions. I'm going to stir that until they sweat down. Look, I got it all over my thumb. I'm making a big batch here, so I'm going to use 2 cans of tomato paste, and I'm going to let this cook on the bottom of the pot. I'm going to stir frequently so it doesn't burn. I really like to take the time to cook the tomato paste on the bottom of the pot for a little while. It really enhances the flavor. It gives you more of a roasted tomato taste, and it's worth it. Now for 2 cans of diced tomatoes. And I'm also going to use the jar of strained tomatoes. I'm going to stir that up. Time for some oregano. Don't need to be shy. And thyme. I've got plenty of thyme. Stir it all up. A couple of bay leaves, fresh bay leaves. Keep a plant in my kitchen. Let that simmer for about an hour. And I'm going to put a pot of water on to cook the meat. Now let's prepare the meat for this dish. I'm going to use some store-bought Italian sausage today. Normally I run to my local butcher and get some, but I didn't have time for that today. You can also use ground beef for this if you like, or you can make a vegetarian version. Your choice. So I'm going to remove the sausage casing from the sausage. And I'm going to break up the sausage meat into small pieces so it cooks thoroughly, but also so that I can remove most of the fat. I'm really good at this, and I can go a lot faster. There. That's looking pretty good. The water has come to a nice hard boil, so I'll add the sausage meat. I'll be careful to break it up as I drop it in the pot. And I'm going to stir it around again. I'm going to be aggressive and try and break up any large chunks that might be there. I'll cover the pot and let it come to a boil. And when it does, I will skim off all the bubbles on the top, which are proteins and fats. And after about 10 or 15 minutes, the meat is cooked. Time to strain the meat. A lot of the fat is going to go right down the drain. And to do a better job of that, I'm going to pour some boiling water over the meat. Pouring boiling water over the meat is very important. It helps ensure that we remove all the fat from the meat, and this helps ensure that the meal is more stable and lasts longer without refrigeration. Let's get a pot of water on for the noodles. I'm going to add some salt just to help cook the noodles. And when I have a rolling boil, I'm going to add some of the lasagna noodles. I'm going to be patient, add them slowly, and push them down with a spoon gently. And soon enough, they'll all be in the pot and cook as per the directions in the package. I'm going to strain the noodles. So please resist the urge to rinse your pasta. You don't need to do that. Pasta's fine the way it is. I'm going to stack up these pasta noodles about 3 or 4 in a pile, and I'm going to cut them. I'm going to cut them into bite-sized pieces that are about 3/4 of an inch long. And then I'm going to move on to dehydrating. I'm going to put them on the dehydrator tray and spread them out. There, that looks good. While I'm at it, I'm also going to spread out the sausage meat on a dehydrator tray. There, that's looking good. Let's check on that tomato sauce. The sauce is looking really good, ready to dehydrate. I'm going to use a fruit roll tray, and I'm going to spread out my sauce nice and evenly. Nice and even all around. And you thought I forgot the spinach. No! Spinach is here. Here's the spinach. We're going to dehydrate the spinach, keeping it separate from everything else. And I'm going to use another fruit roll tray for the cottage cheese. Fruit roll trays are so useful. If you want to get into this, you should get a bunch of those. Way better than cutting parchment paper. Again, we're going to spread the cottage cheese out nice and even as possible. And there we go. So normally when I make a dehydrated meal, I take all the non-meat ingredients, mix them together, and dehydrate that as if it's one component. But a good lasagna isn't like that. It's not a homogeneous mix of ingredients. It's a layered profile, and that's so that every bite you take is a little bit different. You get a different proportion of ingredients, and it makes the dish interesting. So I'm going to keep my ingredients separate for as long as I can in this process, in hopes of mimicking that same flavor profile of every bite being a little bit different. I've got my food dehydrators all loaded up. My meat is in this one. This one does not have a thermostat. It runs at about 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Everything else is in this one. This one does have a thermostat. I'm going to set it to 135 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to turn them both on. Now we wait. I keep the dehydrated components separate until I'm ready to make a meal. There's the meat. There's my pasta. There's the spinach, the sauce, and the cottage cheese. From experience, the target dry weight for an individual meal for myself when I'm out in the backcountry is 150 grams. So I'm going to start by adding about 50 grams of the pasta, then about 30 more grams of the meat, 30 grams of the sauce. That should bring me about to 110 grams. I'm going to add some of the spinach and some of the cottage cheese. That should bring me close to about 140 grams. And then I'm going to add some of the freeze-dried garlic that I have, as well as some of the freeze-dried mozzarella cheese, bringing my meal up to about 150 grams dry. I'm going to then package that into a Ziploc bag, ready for transportation into the backcountry. Let's take a look at how I prepare this meal when I'm in the backcountry. Put that in the pot, stir it around, throw that on, and quickly add some water. I'm going to add enough to cover that. People ask, how much water do you put in? I add enough to cover the meal. Put a lid on that,
And I'll turn the heat up. That's boiling nicely. So I'm going to take that off and put it in a pot cozy. Use my gloves. I'm going to take this pot and I'll put a cozy lid. There you go. I'll put that in a safe place. Let's get this lasagna on the go. That looks really good. Just going to finish it with some fresh Parmesan cheese. Gonna mix that up. Oh yeah, that looks perfect. Ready to serve. It's looking great. Quite a bit like real lasagna. Really good. So that's Backcountry lasagna for you. It's a little more complicated than a lot of the dishes I make, but it's really worth it. It's a great meal, and I hope you try it on your next trip. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please click like on the bottom. Feel free to leave a comment and share as appropriate. And I hope you consider subscribing to my channel. If you do, hit that bell, that notification bell, so that you get notifications whenever I post a new video. And as always, thanks for watching.